Okay, so I thought I would, it's morning and I'm taking the day off, so I get to feel all relaxed and not stressed out. And I'm trying to wind down the whole, oh great, now my contact is going weird on me. Probably because this lovely wig. Winding down the thing with the bar, I feel really like, you know, it's one thing when people know you and they treat you like you're garbage, but when a whole corporation doesn't even know you and they treat you like you're garbage, they treat you like they don't care, and what happened to you doesn't remotely matter to them. It's really hard when you already have a really badly damaged self-esteem. It's like, well, if I was anybody else, if I was some other customer, would you have cared? Or if I had spent more money at your bar and at your restaurant? You know, I brought people to that restaurant. I really like that restaurant, and I like the atmosphere. It's a good place. At least I used to think it was. But a place that doesn't care, a corporation and a company that doesn't care about its customers. I thought that I should explain or get out the personal loss that this has caused me. I've already said that it kept me from getting to entertain the delusion that I had that really was a comfort to me, that I had friends there, including the bartender who let me think that he was a trusted friend, and I confided to him things I would not have confided if I had thought for a moment. Same with the guy who was living with me. You know, if these people had not won my trust and got me to think that they were on the up and up and they were my friends, I confided in them. I believed in them. Anyway, I lost that, of course. I lost the people that I thought were my friends, and I lost getting to work at the theater, which was a voluntary job, so it was not a financial loss for me, but it was also very hard on me because it was another place that felt like I belonged and that I was wanted. And I'm not really even in theater now because it's left such a bad taste in my mouth about theater in general, which was something that I really loved. And, you know, after leaving my marriage, I had the only identity I had was I was somebody's wife. And when I left my marriage, or I knew my marriage was going to end, I started very hard to rebuild a new identity for myself. And that was this identity with theater, and now that's gone. And in addition to that, which is just, it's not really, you know, there's no financial loss there. I've had to, of course, be in therapy. I had depression before. I had depression during the end of my marriage. I had depression while I was caring for this guy who was so ill. And I still cared for him. I mean, it's like, and it's the part that I have a hard time with is no grasp what it took out of me to do that to him, for him. But anyway, I don't want to digress too much. The point of this video is what loss did it have on me besides just the fact that it emotionally has made me, I might lose my job because my attendance is, well, okay, anybody who saw the Suicide Don't video, I've had several days like that, and several days that I thought I've been thinking about just ending it, because it's like I said, I might as well be dead. The people that I care for are all gone. So it's like you feel like you're dead when you're still alive when you have depression, because all the people that you thought cared abandon you. So I have thought about it. It's like, what's the difference? Why do I keep going and hurting like this? What am I doing this for? And honestly, I'm doing it for my animals. I'm doing it because I have animals that love me. But yeah, there was one of those bad days, and a friend of mine was very worried, and she called 911, and I sounded very upset on the phone to her, and I hung up on her because I couldn't talk. And she called 911, and the police showed up, and they told me that I had two choices. Either I could go to the hospital voluntarily, or I could go there by involuntarily. Well, I didn't particularly feel like, I had already had a really bad day. I didn't really particularly feel like being hauled away in irons by the police. I didn't feel like being humiliated anymore. So I said, well, I can't afford the hospital. And they're like, well, you're just going to go and talk to somebody. Well, that wasn't really the case. I got to ride in an ambulance, which after my insurance paid, I think it was like $1,000 bill that they sent to me. I got to sit in a room, and oh, it was a fun experience, humiliating experience. They came and they wanted to do lab. They wanted to take blood. I'm like, why do you need blood? I'm not sick. I'm just sad. I'm not sick. I'm just having a really bad day. They wanted to take blood. I refused, and they said, well, if you can either do this voluntarily, or we're going to do this, force you. So again, okay, fine, but I'm not paying for 1 penny of this. So, long story short, I got to have about 3 hours at Stevens Hospital. At one point, they had me in a room that had just a bed, nothing, no magazines, nothing else. I was in a paper gown. I was so humiliated standing there. They took my things. They thought I was suicidal for real. And then this guy came in and talked to me. He actually came in and he took one look at me. I was angry. I was so angry. I'm like, because the door was locked in this room. They had locked me in this room. And they have absolutely no idea how to treat depressed people at hospitals and ERs. But anyway, so this guy walks in and he looks at me, and I just said something to him like, why am I in here, or something very angry. And he said, you don't need to be here. And took him another hour to discharge me. And then I got to have a taxi ride home. And I got home around 3 o'clock in the morning. Needless to say, I didn't go to work the next day. Then the bill started to show up. I started getting billed by the hospital, and by the doctor, and by the lab, and by the ambulance. And I couldn't afford these things. Not only that, I didn't want to pay. This was all done to me involuntarily. I didn't want to go to the hospital to begin with. I wasn't really suicidal. I was just really depressed that night. So anyway, I did not pay. I refused to pay. I've had really excellent credit, over 800, since I left my husband. I've worked very hard to have really good credit. But I would not pay 1 penny of this. I thought it was just the principle of the matter. I shouldn't have to pay for something that was forced on me against my will. Well, they sent me to collection. My credit has plummeted. It's under 750 at this point, which doesn't seem like a huge loss, but I have been trying. I'm in a condominium that I live alone, and I'm in a condominium that like everybody else, the value has plummeted, and it's actually worth less now than what I owe on it. I can barely get by from month to month. I cannot refinance because my credit isn't what it was. It's just good. It's on the lower side of good at this point. Instead of I was in the 800 club, as one car salesman told me when I went to look at cars. Now I'm being refused credit cards, and I can't refinance my home because I have these bad marks on my credit because of this hospital thing that I had to go through, this humiliating experience that I had to go through. Never mind the therapy that I've required. I've been in for the last 4 years. A year of that therapy I was doing while I was still going to this restaurant, trying to figure out how to get the negatives out of my life. Doing what my counselor suggested, trying to mend fences, do whatever I could do to make things better for myself so I wouldn't have so many negatives that were actually causing me physical problems, and I ended up having major surgery and a hysterectomy. And, I probably wouldn't have had children, but it did destroy my last chance. The last fleeting hope that I had that maybe I could meet somebody. When you're adopted and you don't have any blood relatives, and you grow up in a family that makes very hard to get them to love you. The idea of having somebody who's your own blood love you that was kind of something important to me. So I lost that. I lost my I mean, I was mid-40s at that time, but I lost my chance to have a child. Okay, and then the other thing that I've lost at my job, we have something called disability leave, and in addition to paid time off, we accrue so much EIB every month, and I had accrued over like 300. I had a significant amount of time saved up because I've been there for I had been there for about 7 years by the time I had this surgery and everything, and it's probably the one I got to ride in. Anyway, long story short, I used the chunk of that time when I had this major surgery. I was out of work for a month because I had to recover from this surgery. Well, since then, because of the therapy, because of the emotional ruin this has caused for me, I have these wonderful days where I can't get out of bed. Well, I feel so panicky. I can't breathe. Or I just have these splitting migraines, which I'm never used to have so many of these as I do now. I had, after my surgery and after the recovery time with my surgery, I had about 200 hours still, maybe like 195 hours still, which was really good to have, to think that if I got in a major accident in my car or on my motorcycle, or if I got a serious illness or I needed another surgery for something else, I had that to fall back on, and I wouldn't end up without pay, while I'm recovering. I had this 190 some hours of time stored up for leave, disability leave. Well, because of this, I'm on intermittent leave at my day job. And what that means is those days that I can't get out of bed, and sometimes it goes 2 days or 3 days, because I just can't get out of bed. There's those days that I just can't get up. And I'm laying there like I feel like there's nothing for me. I had 190 some hours accrued at my work, and it took me many years to get there. And this is after I used what I used for my surgery. Now I'm down to, I believe, just under 50 hours, which is a little more than a week. So if I get in a car accident, or if I get, well, first of all, there's no guarantee that I'm not going to need more days because of this depression, that I might end up using it all up. I'm only a week away from that, and then I'll be getting to stay home without pay, which I can't afford because of my condo. But let's just assume that I don't use any more of that on my depression. If I have a car accident, or if I end up having to have surgery, or if I have a major illness, I have 1 week to get better. 1 week of disability, of short-term disability that I've accrued at my job. 1 week. That's another huge loss for me because of what happened to me at this stupid bar, because of this stupid, selfish man who had, apparently his physical need was more important. If there was any kind of a friendship he had with me, it was not very important to him, because this little whatever that he needed to have, I already said it all with my other videos, but I just wanted to say that this, I've gone to this corporation over and over and over, to the point where they have threatened me for stalking them. And not to get money, not to get financial compensation for the emotional damage and the financial damage this has caused me, but just to hear somebody at that company say, "I'm sorry" to me. They don't even, regardless of whether or not they believe that anything bad happened to me, obviously something happened to me. If nothing else, the managers handled it all wrong at that company by not coming to me and asking me why I was doing the things that were making this person, this bartender, uncomfortable, which of course I made him uncomfortable, because he had this hanging over his head, and I was going to the bar every day, and You had to decide between whether personal or professional. I have not so much as had an apology from this company. Why? Because if they apologize to me, that's akin to saying that they're responsible, and then they might have to pay money, and they're so afraid of having to lose money that they would rather threaten me for complaining too much. Like I'm garbage, like what happened to me in their restaurant is garbage. It means nothing. So anyway, that's all. That's all that's transpired as far as losing my reputation, losing getting to work at the theater, losing my credit, my good credit that I worked so hard, losing the fact that I thought I had friends, or at least I got to feel like I had friends. This is why when I wake up sometimes in the morning and I just don't see why I keep going. I might lose my home, I might lose my job. And they haven't even so much as said, gee, we're really sorry that something bad must have happened to you. They haven't even so much as said that. I'm not even worth that, an apology. Those just 2 words, we're sorry.